Hi there. Today I'm going to show you how you get your WordPress website onto DigitalOcean. So I'm going to cover a couple things in this video. First of all, I'm going to cover why I choose DigitalOcean, why I think it's better than other hosting providers. And we're going to look at how you kind of manage your own little web server, because it's a little different from some of the other hosting providers like GoDaddy or Bluehost or any other of the big ones. So first of all, why do I like DigitalOcean? And the reason I like it is because it's about $5 a month, so it's relatively cheap compared to a lot of the other options. And $5 a month is all that you need if you want to have numerous websites on it. You can usually take about 1 million views a month on a $5 a month plan. So what you're renting at DigitalOcean is you're renting your own little computer that is always going to be there and it's always going to be turned on. So what you're paying for is how much memory you want and how big of a drive you want. So for $5 a month you get 512 meg of memory and 20 gig of space, which is more than you'll ever need. What's also nice about DigitalOcean is that they give you your own separate IP address. So if you were to go on a URL and type in an IP, it would go directly to your website. And that's kind of nice because if you're doing e-commerce websites, you sometimes need to install what's called SSL certificate, where you need to have a separate IP address for each domain. So it's a bonus that they give it to you. A lot of other places, you have a shared certificate without your IP address. Other pros is you have complete customization over it because it's your own little computer running. You can do and put whatever you want on that computer, where a lot of time other hosting providers prevent what you can put on there. Like I said, you can have unlimited websites and you have dedicated resources. Because the problem is that sometimes when, like on a shared hosting plan, you have kind of one computer here that has your RAM and your space, and you have person 1 here who has their website on it, and person 2 and person 3, and they all each have their own separate websites, and they're each sharing the same amount of RAM and the same space. So if person 1's website uses a whole bunch of RAM, they're sucking out all of these resources and it makes your website act really slow. So what's nice about DigitalOcean is that you know how many resources you're going to have. You know you're going to have this much RAM and that much space. What's also nice about it is that for SEO stuff, sometimes when you have shared hosting, if you have a person's website who has questionable content on it and they get blacklisted from Google, they could block that IP address. So in this case, you know that no one else is going to affect your ranking. Some of the bad things about it though is that it's a little more difficult to learn how to set up your own web server. It's not too bad, but it's a little trickier than just going with GoDaddy or one of the other ones. So that's kind of what you're paying for. And when things go wrong, which they sometimes do, you're your own tech support. So it's usually a lot of Googling, trying to figure out the answers. Okay, so that's the basics. So what I'm going to show you is we're going to create one of these droplets and we're going to go through this list of all these different steps so that we can install WordPress. And all these different steps are just found from on DigitalOcean. They have some really good tutorials about how to do this, but I'm going to show you how I like to do it. So if you ever get lost and you wonder what we're doing, you can just say DigitalOcean install WordPress, and they have some great tutorials on it. They're a couple years old, but this stuff doesn't really change that quickly. Okay, so a few tools that we're going to need to do this. You're going to need some kind of FTP client. I'm on Windows, so I'm using WinSCP to go onto our server and see what files are there. You're also going to need something so that we can type our commands in. You'll see what that means in a sec. So I use Putty, so you can just go in here and download it, and download a Putty installer. If you're on a Mac, you can Google and see what other way you can do it. I think you guys have a terminal built right into Mac that you can do it. Okay, so let's log into DigitalOcean here, and we're going to create a droplet. So we'll call it our website. And we say how big we want it and where we want to be located. And we're going to choose 12.04 times 64 Ubuntu. Okay, and create this droplet. So it takes about a minute to create, and then it's going to send us an email. Like it already sent us an email. Okay, so there's our IP address. It gives us a username and a password. So we're going to open WinSCP. Click on a new one. So let's log in. Our host name is our IP address. Our username is root. And it gives us this long password. Okay, log in. Okay, and we can do the same thing with PuTTY. So we can put our host name, which is our IP address. And let's log in. Yeah, we're okay. Okay. Yeah, update. It's good. It's good. Okay, so let's log into PuTTY first of all. So what this is in PuTTY is right now we're on our web server. It's just Ubuntu is running right now, so we're logging in. So we're going to log in with that password that they gave us. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so here's the long password. So we're going to copy that and gotta paste it in. Okay, I kind of messed that up, so we're going to close it. When you do this, put your IP address in here. And when you go selection, do Windows extends right click. So that means you can right click into it. Okay. So we'll paste our password in. Okay, so now we're on it. Okay, so just the basics of how Ubuntu works is here's a picture of the file directory. So if we were to type any of these things into here, we could see what's living inside. So in this etc, this is where all of our kind of program files are that we download. So you can see we have, let's see if we recognize anything. We have Python here, and when we download PHP 5, that's where it's going to put it. It's going to put it in here. Same with Apache, it's going to put it into here as well. Okay, and we have home. So if we create a username, this is where it's going to put all of our usernames files. And this var1, this is where we're going to put our website into here. So just to give you a general idea of what's going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to just start going down this list. So first of all, let's change our password that we're using. Instead of that bad one, I'm going to use the password. Oops, I messed that up. So if you mess it up, just go up arrow and then enter it again. So I'm typing in password. Okay, now I'm going to add a user. So I'm going to add my own name. Type in password again. You don't have to fill in this stuff. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, next line. So this is changing what permissions Brian has. So we're going to log into Brian in a little bit, and we're going to want him to have all permissions. So don't get too confused about this. We only have to do this once, and then it's going to be set up forever. So all these steps are found on DigitalOcean's website. They walk you right through and exactly what it's doing, but I just put it into one file for you. Okay, so we're going to go sudo apt-get update. So this sudo means you're the super user. You can do whatever you want. So you don't get any errors or saying that it can't do it. This app get is saying go get me whatever program comes after it, and I'm just saying update it. So that means just update it so that the server's running the newest of everything that's on it. Okay, the next thing is we're going to install Apache. So Apache is the program that when someone requests something from your website, it's the thing that sends the information back to them. So Apache is probably the most commonly used, I think it's the most commonly used program in the world, because pretty much every website uses it. Okay, next line. So you can see, you kind of see what's going on here. We're going sudo apt-get install all these different things. So we're installing MySQL, PHP 5. Okay, so this is for MySQL. So this is the database that WordPress is going to need. So I'm going to type in password. I'm using password again. Hopefully you use something a little more secure. I recommend you use something more secure. Otherwise, if your password's really easy, people can hack into your WordPress website and it just causes all kind of grief. So yeah, if you ever get confused about what these are, just Google it and there's lots of answers about what each of these commands are. Okay, change the root password, no. So yeah, we want to remove anonymous users. We don't want to remote login, remove the test databases, and reload all of our privileges. Okay, let's keep installing stuff. So we're installing PHP 5, which is going to run WordPress. And the next thing is this rewrite function. This is like a really common one that you're going to use for Apache. It lets you have your HT access file. It's just something that Apache needs. So we're going to put this in here. Okay. Next one. Okay, so this we are going to change here and we're going to put in index.php and then Control X, yes, enter. Okay, so we're looking good here. So now we can add some more modules. So here's a list I put in just of different things. You probably don't need any of these, just so you know this is how you do it. So you'd go sudo apt-get install the name of any of these. So we're going to add a couple here that I know I've used. So this send mail one helps when WordPress is sending mail. I kept getting an error that said could not send the mail in my Apache error logs, and just I googled around and said make sure you have this one. Here's another one, PHP 5 curl. I had errors come up in my Apache log that said you need PHP 5 curl, so you Google around and you can figure out, yeah, it's just as simple as typing this in and you're good to go. So this is a little bit slow. Just give it a second here. You'll know when it's ready because it will say root slash something. Okay, so what we can do in the meantime while this is going is I have a domain at GoDaddy that I want to transfer over. Okay, one sec. Warning, localhost name is not qualified. See readme, who am I? Okay, I don't know what is going on here. So we're going to just close this. And we're going to log back into it. So just remember, this is a little computer that's running all the time. So we just closed it and left it, but everything we installed is already installed on there. So if we come on here again, type in password, that was our new password, it's gonna be right where we left off. Okay, so adding these other ones. I'm not sure if that worked or not. It's not going to really matter. These are like specialty ones that you might need. Okay, we won't worry about that right now. Okay, so we're gonna go, we went sudo nano, all this stuff. So right now, if we go into this var folder, this is where we're gonna put our website. It's gonna go in var www. So we said sudo nano create \var www.info.php. And in that, we're gonna write php and php info, just to test out to see if what we did so far is right. So Control X, yes, enter. Okay, and we're gonna restart Apache so it refreshes everything. Okay, let's go and see what we got. So we'll put our IP address in and push enter. And it says it works. So we can try again and go info.php, and our PHP info thing comes up. So if you go in this var and we refresh it, you see there's our www and there's our info.php. So that's what it's doing. This is where we're going to put all our websites in here. So let's create a new folder, and we're going to put site1 in here. Okay, and if you want to have a second site, you could have it in a second folder, site2, just like that. Okay, so let's open up Putty here, and we're gonna quit out of it, and we're gonna log in to it one more time, but this time we're gonna log into it as the username that we created. So I'm gonna log in as Brian. Okay, so let's install this wget says go get WordPress, the files from WordPress. So if we go \home Brian, see it got this latest WordPress. Okay, now we're gonna go tar this thing, and if we refresh it, we can see it unzipped it. That's what it did. Okay, now we got to create the database for WordPress. So we go MySQL uroot. So type in the password for MySQL when that pink thing popped up. And we're going to go create a database and call it WordPress. You call it whatever you want. And create user. So whatever you want your username to be at localhost. And create a password for it. So I'm going to call it, let's just call it password, not test password, just to keep it simple. So I'll change that there and there. So we're just granting all permissions for this database for us to be able to read it. Oops, didn't copy overwrite. Okay, flush privileges and exit out. Okay, so we're looking pretty good here. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna keep installing WordPress here. So let's just think where we are. Okay, so we just made up the database for it. So now we're going to go copy this WordPress configure over. And this is, for WordPress, this is kind of the configuration file that we need to fix so that it knows who we are. Okay, so the database name that we're going to use is WordPress, and the database username is WordPress user, and the password is password. And that's it. So Control X, yes, enter. Okay, so that now we're up to this step here. So we're gonna say sync everything that's from this WordPress file in here, in this home/Brian, and put it over to var www, and we want it in site1 here. There's nothing in here. So we're gonna go var www.site1. Okay, so it did it. So if we refresh, now we can see all of our WordPress stuff is in there. Okay, so we're going to go into that file. So we're going to go cd /var /www. Okay, and you can go ls. It just says list everything that's inside of there. And we see we have site1. So we're going to go cd again and site1. ls, you can see all the files inside. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just change permissions to give permissions of everything so that it's right, so that we're the only ones who are able to read it. So you want to change these to your own name, whatever it is. So it's important you do this. Otherwise, people might be able to come into your website who you don't want to be able to look at stuff. Okay, so that was it for that. Now we're going to go to our website here and go wordpress-admin /install.php. Let's just think about that for a second. Okay, so that's not going to work. So, okay, so there's a reason why that doesn't work. So we'll go wordpress-admin. Okay, so it says not found. So the reason why it's not found is right now this thing is going and it's looking in our var www. But we want it to look into this site1 folder. So what we have to do is we have to tell Apache where to look. Because right now people type in our domain, it comes to us and it says, where should I look on your website? So where you look, where you decide where you want it to go is in etc, and we want it to look in Apache 2. I'm just going to type it in here, Apache 2, and here we have sites enabled. So this is sites enabled and this is sites available. So let's look at that, this default one. So it says, okay, you have your website here and I want to look in this var www file. Okay, so that's pretty close, but we want it to look in var www site1. So we're going to change this. We're going to go rename. We'll call this site1. We'll edit it again. And we'll say var www.site1. Okay, we'll save that. Make sure there's nothing else we need to change. That looks pretty good. Not sure why it's asking for my password again. Okay, so now we have to say, so right here, sites available, these are all the different sites that you have. So they're available until you enable them. So once you enable it, then it goes over to here. So right now we have this default enabled. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this one, and you do that by going sudo a2 dissite 000-default. Okay, so hopefully that got rid of it. Yeah, it did. And we want to enable our site available. So I'm going to go sudo a2en site1. Oops, I messed. Not sudi, I went sudo. Okay, so that looks good. And now we got to go and restart Apache. So sudo service Apache 2 restart. Okay, so now if we come up here, now it knows to look into this var file www site1. So hopefully it should be able to find it. So if we go back up here and we go install.php, I think that's what we want it to go to. Error establishing a database connection. Okay, so something went a little funny there. So let's go to our WordPress config file here. So our username is WordPress user. We have our password. Okay, so let's just make sure everything here is right. Oh, I guess we just got to do it again. Something went a little funny there, but it found itself. Okay, that's good. I thought I was doing something wrong. Okay, so let's call it our website username. So I'm going to call it just my name and password. And you put your email in here. Okay, and we're going to install WordPress. And this just takes a minute here, and then we'll be up and running. Hopefully everything works out okay. So the other thing we can do right now while we're waiting is we can change the permissions of our files. So in this site1, if we go properties, we can see our permissions are 755. So that's the permission one that we want, but we want that to be the same for all of our folders inside. So right now it is, but the way you can make sure if that ever changes is you can do gmod -r755 wherever you want it to do it. So we want it to do it in var www.site3. So this -r just says do it to all the folders that are inside of it. This 755 is make it to this permission. This is a permission you want for your folders. And do it for all the folders inside of here. Ooh, so we want not site1, we want site. Or yeah, we do want site1. Okay. Okay, so this is done. So let's go back and we can log in. Brian, and we can put our password in. Log in. Okay, and now we're good to go. So if we were to go to our website now, we'd see our website is up and we have our domain here. So if we wanted to change our domain to something like a real domain that you buy, and so if you were at your domain provider, here's a domain. The first thing you would do is you would change your name server so that it points over to DigitalOcean. So you go to your name servers and you go manage and you go ns1.digitalocean.com, ns2, ns3, and you put those in, and then you wait a couple hours. So now it sends it over to DigitalOcean. Now DigitalOcean says, okay, someone wants to see what's on this domain. Where should I be looking? So you go in your DNS here, and we have this garbage to curb thing. So it says, okay, here you can create all your records. So where do you want me to look? So we want it to look at we want it to be an A record. We want it to look at right, okay. Sorry about that. This is just how DigitalOcean does it. So for the host name, you just put this @ symbol and it just says look at garbage2curb.com. If you type it in, then I don't know, I've had trouble where it doesn't work. And now you got to enter the IP address of where you want to go. So our IP address is here. So we're going to copy that and put that in. Great. Okay, so now it sends it over to our IP address. And now from our IP, we have to figure out where do we want to go from here. So how you do that, it's in that etc-apache2 and sites available again, site 1, edit. So it's in here is where you're going to change it. So the way that you do this is you type in how you want whatever your domain is. So I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to look at one of my other websites here and see exactly how you should be doing it. Okay, so we're going to go etc-apache2 / just go there. Sites enabled, sites available. Okay, so we'll go edit. Okay, so the way we do this is, okay, so we write, I'm just going to copy and paste this over. Server admin, so you can type in whatever email you want. Your server name, we're going to type in our server name that we want. So this is our domain name. So it was garbage2curb.com and garbage2curb.com. So we're going to save that, close it. We'll close this guy because we don't need it. And we're going to go over to Apache here. We're going to restart it again. So sudo service Apache 2 restart. Okay, so it restarted. So instead of typing our domain in here, if we typed garbage2curb.com, it doesn't work right now because I had it on an old thing, but if you give it a couple hours here, it's gonna sort out and it'll go to the proper domain. Other than that, it's the exact same way that you would do it to create another website. So you would go to var www, and in site 2 you would do the exact same thing. You put your other WordPress install in here, and you would do exactly the same steps again, except in this case it would be just going to var www site 2. You can also just drag your files into here if you wanted to. Same thing works. So in WordPress, I don't know if you're familiar with WordPress, but if you are, when you have plugins and stuff, this is where it's going to go, right in here. So you just drag your files into here, and that's how everything is going to work. So that is pretty much the end of this tutorial. Hopefully it helps you out a little bit and shortens your learning curve. Yeah, so thanks a bunch. Hopefully, if you have any questions, leave them below and I'll try to get to them. Thanks.